Howdy, hi. It is Do Your Job Sports College Football Picks for Week 7, Part 2. Let's get into the video. All right, nothing to recap because we did that in the previous game, so we will get right on into the picks. First game, Iowa State headed to West Virginia. I am taking Iowa State -3. Currently, they're looking like the best team in the Big 12. They are 5-0. Their only close game was a road win against Iowa. 2019 dub there. They're able to get it done on the road. Both of these offenses similar, very similar actually, averaging 432 and 448 yards a game. Iowa State does it through the air and on the ground. WVU really only does it on the ground. They are 21st in the country rushing yards a game at 223. What is the one thing Iowa State is good at, like really good at? That is their defense. They are the 27th ranked defense in college football, only giving up 282 yards a game. West Virginia defense, not nearly as good. They're allowing over 100 more yards a game at 389 yards per game. West Virginia going to have to stop the run. They're going to have to stop going through the air, and their offense is going to have major problems scoring the ball against this Iowa State defense that is the best they have seen all season. So I'm going to rank Iowa a little better than West Virginia. I'm going to take Iowa State -3. Next game, Arizona at BYU. Give me the Mormons by 4. I am surprised this line is so short. If you would have told me it was BYU -10, I think I still would have taken them. BYU coming off of a bye week, and we all know the Mormons don't drink or have premarital sex. So they've been watching a film and church services for the last 2 weeks preparing for this game against Arizona. Arizona coming off a 6-point home loss against Texas Tech, where they only scored 22 points. They had 3 offensive turnovers and were unable to convert in the red zone not once, but 2 times, maybe 3. I was scrolling through the game feed, and that's what I saw. So I think it was twice, maybe 3, though. BYU, before they had the obvious bye week, coming off of a 6-point home win against Baylor, and then a 29-point win against Kansas State. So if you can beat Kansas State by 29, they should be able to dismantle this Arizona team who lost against Kansas State by 24 points 3 weeks ago. So they should have a massive offensive edge and then a fairly large defensive edge here against Arizona. So I'm going to take the Mormons at home off of a bye week by 4. Next game, it's a bounce back game. It is Missouri -27.5 at UMass. Now, in the previous week, we took Missouri when they got absolutely horn throttled by Texas A&M. Don't even know the final score of that game. I did not go back to check. I don't care. I know it was a metric ton to like next to nothing. So this is a big bounce back spot here against the UMass team that is 1-5 straight up, and they lost to Buffalo by 31 points earlier this season. Last time I checked, Missouri a lot better than Buffalo. So I think -27.5 in a furious bounce back game. We need to pummel this team into the ground to prove to everyone we are not bad at football. Missouri -1.5, lay it. Missouri averaging 440 yards a game on offense compared to UMass, who averages 365. Defense and level of physicality is not even close. It's the Missouri front, who was supposed to be really good and one of the best defensive teams in the country, just didn't play football last week. I think they man up here against a UMass squad that is not very physical, not nearly as big as them. Missouri should be able to weight room these guys all the way back. I don't see UMass scoring a single point. Missouri should be getting this done. UMass ranked 174th in rushing yards a game at 133. So when they're down, let's say 14 points, 17 points in the middle of the second quarter, they're going to have to start throwing the ball because they can't run the ball against this Missouri front. When you start throwing the ball a lot, that leads to interceptions and turnovers, which should lead to Missouri points. So a bounce back game here, Missouri against a very, very inferior UMass team. Give me Missouri -27.5. Next game we got, it is a MACtion meetup. It is Miami of Ohio heading to Eastern Michigan. I'm going to take Eastern Michigan +3 at home. Miami of Ohio was projected to be very good in the MAC. Granted, their 1-4 record does not really stand to how good of a football team they actually are. Most of Miami's stats don't really matter because they have played 3 Power 4 schools in Notre Dame, University of Cincinnati, and Northwestern. So, as a MAC team, you're not really expected to win those games. That is why they are 1-4. That being said, their only MAC game of the year this so far, they lost by 10 points to Toledo, and their defense allowed 400 total yards. University of Miami of Ohio's only win is against UMass, and that was, I think, early in the season. EMU only loss was at Washington by 21 points. Honestly, a very respectable score. If you only lose to Washington in Washington by 21, that's decent enough. They've scored a minimum of 28 points a game in every single game, minus the Washington one. Miami has not scored more than 23 points once this entire season. That is in their loss to Toledo. That is in their win against UMass. They have not done it once. 23 is the most they've scored the entire season. I think Eastern Michigan wins this game straight up. So if you're giving me them at +3, I will gladly take the points. Next game we're looking at, it is New Mexico State and Jacksonville State University. I'm going to be taking JSU -20 and the over of 57.5. New Mexico State might be, if not is, one of the worst college football teams in the country. Jacksonville State coming off of a win by 37 points and 39 points. I think they continue to roll here at home against a New Mexico team that is awful. This will probably be over and covering at halftime. New Mexico State offense is ranked 245th in college football, averaging just 280 yards a game. Their defense is ranked even worse at 250th, giving up 470 yards a game. Those are two egregiously bad numbers. Most of that is given up on the ground, 233 rushing yards a game for the opponent. Jacksonville State offense is built around the rushing game, averaging 204 yards a game, good enough for 40th in the country. I don't see how this line is only -20. New Mexico State just gave up 50 points to New Mexico, another team that is not very good at football. I think this line should be closer to -30, and this over should be at like 65. So the fact I'm getting -20 and 57.5 seems like a win to me. So I'll take Jacksonville State, the points, and the over 57.5. Next game, probably one of the biggest of the week, to be honest with you. It is Utah heading to Arizona State. I'm going to take Arizona State +6. Main thing to look at here in this game is the status of Cam Rising. As I am making this video on Monday, Cam Rising currently listed as questionable with a hand injury. If he does not play, I think this +6 is a gift. Arizona State playing good football recently. They get the home field advantage, nationally televised game. This stadium is going to be packed. The last time Utah played without Cam Rising, they lost at home to Arizona by 13 points. Arizona State played a lot of tight games this season. They have 3 games decided by 7 points or fewer. They have won them all. So the fact we're getting a team +6, that in a game that really should be tight, Cam Rising or not, this is going to be a close football game. Arizona State, they've been winning close football games, so I like them +6 here. Offenses and defenses very similar in stats. Just depends on what team's out there making the plays and who is playing quarterback for Utah in this one. So I'm going to take ASU +6. Final game here, it is UNLV at Utah State. I'm going to be taking the over of 64.5 points. 2 good offenses here. Both teams coming off of games where they allowed a legitimate ton of points to be scored. Utah State just allowed a team to go for 600 total yards against them. I didn't even think that was possible in a college football game. Utah State has one of the worst defenses in college football straight up. They've given up an average of 490 yards a game. UNLV gives up an average of 365 yards a game. Neither of these defenses are very good. Both of these teams coming off of games where they gave up a legitimate fuck ton of points. UNLV lost at home to Syracuse, final score of 44-41. That was in overtime. Utah State just lost to Boise State 30-62. Boise played their backups the entire second half of the game. JT, Boise State's running back, went for 180 yards and 3 touchdowns in the first half alone. I think one of these teams is going to be able to score 50 plus points in this matchup. Their defenses are simply that bad. So I'm going to take the over 64.5 to wrap this one up. And that is going to do it for me and this video. If you guys have not already liked and subscribed, please do so. We are doing a giveaway at 2,500 subs. And that's going to do it here. I will catch y'all in the next video. Peace.